All right. Hi, everybody. This is Melinda B. Powers with your next installment of the Detroit Hustle Podcast. We are here today with somebody I've been trying to get a hold of for so long, and I'm finally glad that we got to get him on the line. Marcus Collins, which is awesome. I mean, I know him from high school back in the day, he used to sing and do all this stuff. Super talented guy, but he's like this extraordinary social media guru, speaker, just all over the world. But I'll let him tell more about himself. Marcus, how are you today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me. And I'm glad that we finally made this happen. I'm
I
really excited to be
know.
here.
Yeah, I've been on you, but we finally were able to coordinate. It took a while, but we're here today now. So I want you to tell me about your roots in the D. Like, what side of town are you from? Neighborhood, schools? Just kind of give us a rundown of your background.
Yeah, so I am a product of Detroit, proudly born and raised. I grew up on the northeast side of Detroit, so 6 Mile and Monte Vista was my stomping ground. But I went to school at Glightly Educational Center from kindergarten through 8th grade. I did Schultz Elementary for like a hot second, like literally for like 2 or 3 months, and then
Mhm.
went to Glightly Educational Center from kindergarten through 8th grade, and then I did high school at Cass Technical High School, the only real high school in Detroit,
Woo
from ninth grade to 12th grade.
woo.
That's right. That's
Uh-huh.
right.
Okay, okay. So go lightly. That's funny because I like to point these little mini rivalries out. 'Cause I went to Bates, so go lightly and Halley and a lot of those schools we used to come in contact with like academic games and other little things we used to do. So
Oh
I know,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Mhm,
But some of my
mhm.
closest friends went to Bates, so it's all good. I had a lot of love for Bates.
Oh,
Bates
cool,
birthed a lot of
cool.
like some of my closest friends, so I got nothing but love for Bates.
Yeah, that's true. I think I know a couple of them. So,
Oh yeah,
all
oh
right.
yeah.
So let's
My
get to it. So
singing
I
group
know
was half of the singing group was from Bates. Kamal
basically,
Smith
yeah.
and LeVar
Mhm.
Charleston. Yeah, totally.
Mhm. Yep. And we have interviewed Kamal recently, so people see a trend here. Yeah. Um. So
Good
then from
deal.
there, right from Cass, I know you went to U of M, right?
Yes. So I went to University of
Right.
Michigan. I studied material science engineering because, in the 90s, if you liked math and science and you were black, you went into engineering. That's exactly what I did with a lot of other people who had that same sort of pedigree.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's interesting. So now tell us about how you made it from being an engineering major to where you're at right now. So that's kind of it's I see the connection, but it's a bit of a leap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. I think you're being very sweet by calling it a bit of a leap. It's a massive leap. Uh, so I go into engineering and, I didn't do it like with any reservation. I was pretty excited about it.
Mhm.
Particularly, I was studying material science engineering because I thought that polymers were really interesting. At that time, I'd say polymers were cool. I later refer to it quite differently now. But I
Mhm.
went in my first year of school, and U of M kicked my butt, like for real. Like
Mhm.
it was not a game. I was not as prepared for University of Michigan as I thought I was.
Hmm.
And I remember going back to my parents saying that, I'm not sure if I want to do engineering because, you know, uh, calculus, both Calc 1 and 2 were tough. I was a chem bio major at Cass, and then to
Mhm.
go to U of M and intro to chemistry, which we call Chem 130, it
Mhm.
punched me in the face. I was starting to really question whether I had a future in math and science or engineering. And my mother, who's an academic, is like, well, wait till you take classes in your major. You take classes in material science, you'll love it, it'll be great. So then I went back to do my sophomore year after that summer, and I was like, yo, this is not the it. And I
Oh.
ended up taking classes at the School of Music because I was a musician before I came to
Mhm.
school. So I was like, well, let me offset my failing GPA with some music theory courses. And I completely fell in love with Major Seventh. I was like, this is what I want
Hmm.
to do. I want to be a songwriter. What had always been sort of a hobby or an extracurricular activity
Mhm.
as a kid or as an adolescent, I felt like this is the career I want to make for myself.
Mhm.
So I went home after the summer of my sophomore year, said, Mom and Dad, I know what I want to do for a living. I want to be a songwriter. My parents was like, nigga, please. No, you don't. That is not a thing. That is not reality, buddy. Um,
Wow.
and
Rude
so
awakening,
we fought
huh?
it out. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. we fought it out, and I lost that battle. So I went back to school again after the summer. And I finished my degree in engineering, but I spent all of my time when I wasn't in class, some summertime when I was in class, truthfully, I was writing music. Right? I took a lot of music theory courses, took a lot of composition courses. I took a lot of sound engineering courses. I spent all my time where I wasn't socializing, I put in air quotes. I spent all my free time at the recording studio at the university, and I was really starting to cut my teeth as a producer. And I graduated, we graduated right after 9/11, so the market was awful, just completely awful. So I decided to go into the music industry after I graduated. I did an internship in Universal Music Group that wasn't great. I didn't love it. It made me realize what I didn't want to do in the music industry. So then I came back to Ann Arbor and ran a recording studio for one of my professors from the School of Music. And so he had a Studio A, I ran Studio B. And what I would do is after the paid sessions were done, I would call up my friends who live in Detroit to come up and let's record music. And I'm like, Kamal would come up, LeVar would come up, like all my people would come up, and we cut records, right? Even, I worked really closely with another Michigan alum, Stephen Sneed, Chad Hughes. Like we were developing a collective and a sound out of that. And, what I decided is that like, I really want to do this. I really want to pursue this, but I didn't want to do any of the business side because I had been like pitching. I've been going in New York and trying to like get in front of A&Rs and nothing was really happening. So I tapped another ex-engineer, guy by the name of Mike Muse, and I convinced him to start a company with me that we called Muse Recordings. And he would do all the business side and I would do all the music development. And that really became kind of the first inflection point in my career trajectory. We started this company that at one time was like a production company, an artist developing company, a record label, a partner marketing firms, kind of all these things happening at the same time. But we got some really, really lucky breaks for ourselves and things were going really well, really, really well until they weren't because the record industry sucks. So I went back to school to get my MBA to kind of figure out this disruption that was happening in music, which we now refer to as digital. And from there, I made my way out west to work at Apple doing partner marketing at iTunes. And around that time, I ended up meeting a gentleman by the name of Matthew Knowles, who has a daughter named Beyonce Knowles.
Yeah,
and Matthew, she sings a few songs. And Matthew, who I met through other people, we got connected serendipitously, I might add. Matthew goes, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You were an engineer, you started a music company, you have your MBA, you work at iTunes, and you're Black. It's like, Sam, you are a unicorn. Who are you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm Marcus, and I'm real. And he's like, you should run digital strategy for Beyonce and my company. And I was like, absolutely, I should do that. So I found myself still in music, but operating in this new space, this new affinity that I developed for marketing, right? This new love for marketing. So I'm running digital strategy for Beyonce. This is like 2009. So this is the I Am Sasha Fierce days, right?
Yes,
so
I remember.
Single Ladies has blown up at this point. So Single Ladies has blown up at this point. And what I really appreciate about that time was not just my proximity to her, because I worked really closely with her and her direct manager, one by the name of Leanne Callahan, and Liz Pecor, who was the general manager of the organization. Not only did I work really closely with those people, but I got a chance to kind of see her elevate to become from Beyonce to Queen Bee.
Right.
It was a really fascinating time. Got a chance to work very closely with her publicist, Yvette Noel Shore. Like, we were just this small group, Jen Turner, Courtney Anderson, like this small group of people who were sort of laying the foundation or laying the building blocks to what would be Beyonce's queendom. And while I say I only added a couple blocks, truthfully, a couple bricks to the building, it was just, I feel so honored and grateful to have been a part of that legacy. It's been great.
Yeah.
So I found myself in the world of music and marketing and digital, which is great. But then I realized that the music industry was limited by its understanding of the digital space. And truthfully, advertising agencies were doing a better job of breaking artists and putting music in the world than labels were. So I decided to go into advertising. I went to a place called Big Fuel, the pure play social media agency. And it sort of became like boot camp for social for me. Like I really understood the foundations to how social works as a marketing vector or vehicle, and how a marketer might be able to take advantage of these tools and produce, distribute, and propagate content. And while I was there, kind of heads down, you know, learning this stuff, working with big brands like Microsoft, T-Mobile, General Motors, McDonald's, I ended up meeting Steve Stout, who, if you don't know Steve Stout, so Steve Stout is like me, but light years ahead of me, a music industry executive. He used to be the road manager for Kid and Play, used to manage Mary J. Blige, the Trackmasters, and Nas. He used to run urban music at Sony Music. And then he went over to RCA rather. Then he went over to Interscope and was the president at Interscope right under Jimmy Iovine. And this is long time, extremely successful record executive who decided to go into advertising and start an agency with his silent partners, Jay-Z and Jimmy Iovine. And I meet Stout, and Stout invites me to come over to Translation and build the social engagement practice, like to build a social practice the agency did not have prior to me. And it was just a chance of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime. And I go to Translation, and it completely changed my career. I cut a Translation almost single-handedly for establishing the point of view, or at least creating the spark that would later evolve into the point of view that I have. It was the tale of two cities, the best of time and the worst of times. Right. It was a very intense place to work, but I got to touch things that, you know, I had no business touching, and put things in the world that had an impact on the cultural zeitgeist, like launching the Cliff Paul campaign for State Farm, launching the Made in America Music Festival for Budweiser, which is in its like 7th year or 8th year now, 9th year now. I moved the New Jersey Nets from New Jersey to become the Brooklyn Nets. I launched like platinums for Anheuser-Busch, just some unbelievably impactful cultural text I was able to put in the world.
Wow. Now, I didn't know all of that. I mean, I knew about the Beyonce stuff, but I had no idea about this side of it. This is amazing. So yeah, this was a massive inflection point in my career. It was one of, like, you know, if you think about an S curve, this is like the big inflection that led to the acceleration that would become my career just shortly thereafter. Right. So let's just back up for a second, because there were some things. One, I think we have another connection. I want to say that a friend of mine from FAMU also was at U of M Business School when you were there. I don't think you were in the same class though. Jason Robinson. I don't know if that rings a bell, but
yeah, J-Rob, that's my dude.
Really?
Yeah, we're same year. That's my guy. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
Good people.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a friend of
Same
mine
year.
from FAMU, and I was going to ask you too. I know you spent a lot of time in Ann Arbor. So when you were out in California too. So at what point, like, you were at Apple for how many years? I think I missed that part.
So I did 1 year at Apple. So I did 1 year, 2008 to 2009. And then I was with Music World, which was the management company and record label for Beyonce.
Right.
I was with Music World from 2009 to right before 2011. Okay. And then I spent a little bit of time at Big Fuel in 2010 and 2011. Okay. And then I was at Translation for 4 years, from 2011 to 2015.
Was all that stuff on the East Coast though?
Yeah, so I was only in California for a year, and that was going back and forth between Ann Arbor and California for a year. Gotcha. So I was in New York for about 7 years, almost 8 years. Yeah, 7 years in New York. And then my wife and I had our eldest daughter, Georgia, in 2014, and it's completely changed the game for us. When
Oh,
we
I
had
bet.
Georgia, for us, it's like the life that we wanted to curate for her, we didn't think we could do in the city. And my wife is a New Yorker, by the way. And, we
Really?
wanted a different lifestyle. And we had lived in Chicago, lived in Detroit, because that's where I'm from. We met at business school, so Ann Arbor was appealing for both of us. And I ended up meeting an agency called Donor, which is based here in the city, here in Detroit. And,
Right.
I was really impressed with the potential of the place. I met some really, really smart people, like a guy named James Ward, which is really, really impressive, very compelling. And I thought that this would be a really good opportunity for me to come back home, but also put things in the world to not maybe the cultural gravitas that I had in translation, but at least perhaps as prolific as I was in translation because of the production practice that Donor had. So I came to Donor as the SVP of social engagement, running kind of the perspective that the agency had for social. But I will say though, along the way, and I didn't say this earlier, while I was at translation, I started to get really curious about why people do what they do, like understanding the underlying physics of human behavior. So I started investing myself in the social sciences and getting really excited about like understanding human behavior, so much so that, I teach my teams everything that I read. I try to school clients or, to enlighten clients. And I realized that the best place to do that would be in the classroom. So I started teaching while I was at translation. I was teaching at Miami Ad School in Brooklyn, teaching at Hyper Island where I still teach. And I had an appointment at NYU just before we left. So when we came back to Michigan to work at Donor and live back in the area, a part of me was like, man, it would be just glorious if I can get a small little appointment at the University of Michigan, particularly Law School of Business. And since being back here in Michigan for 5 years, almost 5 years now, I'm now on the faculty, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it came full circle, didn't it?
Yeah, look at that. Couldn't get enough of the place.
Right. Me, on the other hand, I'll stay in Florida where there's no snow.
Right. Florida got the craziest people. Florida, man.
I know, but
wow.
it's like 80 degrees right now. I just can't.
That's true. So I have two, like, I wouldn't call them childhood friends. We met when we were in high school, and I love these guys so much. They're twins that grew up in Tallahassee. I think they both went to FAMU. I might be mistaken. Actually, no, one went to Morehouse. They're Mutaki and Tariq Akbar.
Akbar,
and
I know Mutaki.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, Taki. So,
yeah.
Exactly. So I've known those guys since we were 13, and I loved them dearly. And
how did
my
you meet
first
them?
time going I met them over the summer. We're in high school. We would go to the Summer Engineering Academy here in Michigan because we were all being groomed to be engineers. And Mutaki and Tariq were like my closest friends. I love those guys so much. And my first time going to Florida was to visit them. I was going to spend a weekend with them. And I remember being in their kitchen while their mother was cooking food. And we were waiting for their sister to get home because we're all going to go out to some of it we're going to. And there was a snake coming down their roof. I could see it coming out of the window, like coming down the window out of the kitchen. I was like, fam, how do you live like this? How is this a reality? I can't do it. I can't.
Or the alligators.
That was the start of my my battle with Florida.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've lived in Florida for the better part of at this point we're talking since '98, and I have yet to personally encounter a snake like one-on-one. It's never happened to me, but I know tons of people that have.
But you've seen gators.
I have seen. Well, it's funny enough, in the building I work in, which is on a college campus, we have these retention ponds. We have one right on the back of the deck. There's signs, don't feed the alligator. That's actually illegal. And they let one stay in there until it gets to a certain size, and then they move it. So it's just in there. You can sit and watch it. It just sits there. You might see them eat on something every now and then, but it's like they're not, it's so weird how normal that is. I still am not used to that, but it's like, okay. But I do have nightmares sometimes of like, what would happen if one chased me? They say you're supposed to run zigzag, but they can't do that.
Right.
I don't know why that. I'm still freaked out by that idea.
You know, we're
Yeah.
black. We are black people in America. There's enough to be worried about. Then you worry about wildlife trying to kill us. I can't do it. I just can't. I'll take my winners. I think the safety and security of a winner over a snake or an alligator. I just can't do it.
And that's fair. I will give you that. It's totally reasonable and logical. So I wanted to ask you too, just quickly, just to delve a little bit more. So you went through this journey, and but was there a certain moment? I know you had a moment where you said engineering's not for me, but was there a moment as you were trying to find your way where you just knew you were on the right path and you just had to keep trekking no matter how it looked, no matter what was going on around you, and how you may not have been able to piece it together in the moment, that kind of gave you that confidence to keep going? And I mean, and look where you are now. Do you remember that moment at all?
I'll be very honest. There's never been a moment in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I suppose that's like a gift and a curse. Because once I have my mind set on what I want to do, it's like myopic. Like it's like blinders. I see nothing but that. And I completely invest myself into it. And I continue to invest with the optimism that it's going to work out. And when I feel, if I've ever felt shaky, or it's kind of weird, if I ever woke up and felt like, I don't think this is it, like I could cut bait almost immediately. You know, like there was a point in my life, you know, like if you asked me 15 years ago what I'd be doing when I'm 70, I'd be writing songs. Like that's it. That's all I knew. That's all I could see myself doing in life, was being a songwriter, putting music in the world. I haven't written songs in a very, very long time. And I wouldn't say that I don't miss it, but I don't think about it. Like I don't have like this nostalgia, like, man, I wish I could write something. Like I feel like when I was ready to be done as a writer, then I put the pen down, and the proverbial pen down, and say, okay, this is it. That was cool. I enjoyed that. I'm grateful for that point, that time in my life. Now I'll go back and listen to the records and feel nostalgic and what have you, but I know that's not a part of my trajectory, my journey. You know, and I guess there were inflection points there. Engineering was a big one. My heart wasn't really in engineering. Even when I found myself deciding I'm going to go to business school, I mean, you know, truthfully, just in full candor, you know, there was a point there where, you know, the record label wasn't doing very well at all. And I was doing everything I can, not just to put things in the world so that we have opportunity, but just sort of pay the bills too. You know, there's one time, like I was substitute teaching, which is basically in Romulus, was basically just sitting in the class and kind of babysitting kids, just so I can, you know, just so I could pay the rent. You know what I mean? Truthfully, you know, I get a 5 in the morning call saying, hey, do you want to substitute? And I say, yeah, I'm available. And I get dressed, you know, take a shower, get dressed, and I drive out to Romulus. I was living in Detroit at the time. I drive out to Romulus, and I, you know, babysit for, you know, till about, you know, 2:45 in the afternoon. I come home, take a nap, then I go to the studio, try to record a little bit, and then we probably have a performance that night. We were gigging like 5 times a week at that point. So I go perform that night and get home at like 2:30 in the morning, and then get that call at 5 a.m. again. Like that was like my life. I was like, yo, I this isn't sustainable. And you know, I've always wanted a family and whatnot. And I was like, who would ever marry this? Like, this is just not that. This isn't a thing, you know. And for me, at that time I knew I wanted to be in music still, but I was ready to concede that perhaps my existence in music wasn't going to be as a songwriter, but rather helping songwriters get their songs heard. And I was happy with that. I was like, bet, that's what I'm going to do. I mean, if my songs aren't good enough, let's say in air quotes, weren't good enough to be the songs that everyone sings aloud and together, then perhaps I can be the vehicle or the vector to help someone else's songs be the ones that are saying aloud and in tune and together. And by the time I made that decision, I was completely dialed in. Like I'd committed to it.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's really deep. And another reason why we had a little bit of coordination difficulties is because you have a new addition to your family that came along recently.
Oh yeah. So
Nice.
July
So what's it like
we
being?
had a daughter.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we had our daughter Ivy Ann. So we had Georgia Ray and Ivy Ann. We're a house of four now. We're done, but we pulled up shop. We're finished now.
Right. So what's it like being a dad of two?
It's amazing, truthfully. I mean, it's harder than I thought it was going to be, but it's rewarding as well. I mean, I think that this is, to me, this is the most important work that I do, is to be a father to these two little girls, and I love being a dad. It's like I feel like it's an honor to be Georgia and Ivy's father, and much like much like the inflection point I had when we had Georgia, we wanted to leave New York. I've had a similar inflection point with Ivy, where I did 2 months paternity leave with Georgia, did 3 months paternity leave with Ivy, and for me, the value proposition of work just changed. Like, it wasn't enough for me to go to work and get a paycheck. Like, it had to be more than that if I was going to be away from my girls, particularly Ivy at that age. And I decided that academia is really what I'm excited about. Particularly, look, I couldn't imagine not being in the classroom, and I couldn't imagine not putting things in the world. So I need both of them to operate. But I'm currently working on my doctorate at the moment, because I've become very serious about the scholarly work. And right now, I work I'm like 80% advertising, 20% academia. But since having Ivy, I have been purposefully, quite aggressively trying to flip-flop that ratio. Because to your earlier question, once my mind is convinced, I am like kind of full force against it. And having her coming to the world just made my vision of how those things live like extremely transparent. It just became very, very clear.
That is really nice to hear a man's perspective broken down that minutely. It's like you just went down to the granular level of what it's like to be a parent and the sacrifices you have to make and the choices you have to make. And I'm sure a lot of our audience can resonate with that. So thank you so much for adding that to our current pool of already great information that we're transmitting over this podcast. So
it's my absolute pleasure.
Yeah, and there's another I'm kind of like, this is kind of giddy for me on a personal level, because I've made a transition in my career as well from full-time lawyer to now I'm a business consultant with the Small Business Development Center. And so I get to wear the hat of consultant, and I discovered, this is funny, I never knew what this was, but I'm definitely branding and marketing to the core. And I'm discovering a whole different side of myself. So I'm really fascinated with the work you do. I follow you. I follow Haj. I'm trying to get him on. If you can get him on for me and get us in touch, that'd be great. But that has become my world now. So I like what you said about when you finally, get that into focus and you just know what to go after. And I could totally resonate with that too. So this is awesome for me, just listening to you. I'm really getting inspired. So thank you for that as well. All right.
There's a saying, if I can help somebody, then my living is not in vain. And that's how I feel. Like, I think that, we are all put on this earth to serve. Like that is like the duty of man, to serve each other and serve God. And, the very least I can do is to inspire someone to realize their potential fully, then, man, my job has been done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm grateful for that.
Cool. Well, I'm glad we're having a little love fest over here. But now I want to transition more and talk about Detroit, because that's kind of the focus of the podcast. So quickly, before we get into the fun part, just give us a little bit about, in your experience, what makes the D so special and how that has contributed to who you've become. Marcus Collins, the academic, the marketing, advertising guru, the father, the husband. How does the D contribute to that?
Yes, I think Detroit is probably full of the most resilient people there are. And Detroit has always been sort of, especially in the last decade or so, have been like discounted, the butt of jokes in some cases. You know, I can't think of a place that's talked about more, however, not as accurate as the place really is.
Oh,
For instance,
man.
if you Google Detroit, you likely see like ruin porn, like, you know, torn down, dilapidated buildings. And I'm like, I lived in Detroit like the majority of my, you know, young life. Like, I've never been to the train station downtown. I was like, what is that thing? I've never seen that before. No one ever did those things. And it's almost like, you know, it's like, if you don't know Detroit, then you don't know Detroit. And I feel like having been a product of Detroit has provided me with a sense of resilience, that even though like people are going to discount you and feel like, you know, you're not good enough, it's the, you know, Detroit versus everybody spirit that makes the city so unbelievably special. It's like Detroit is just real. Like, there's just real people. And even if you aren't like, you know, Mac and Bewick gutter real, you're more like, you know, Rosedale Park real. There's still a sense of like, of authenticity that I think makes Detroit really special. And anytime someone ever asks me, like, tell me about yourself, if it's an interview or a job interview, whatever the case may be, tell me about yourself, I always start with, well, I was born and raised in Detroit because I'm a product of the city. And I think that my experience here in Detroit, growing up, has taught me to see the world in a very unique way, and has fortified me to be resilient in the face of adversity.
Very well said. Very well said. I agree with that 100%. Hence the title, the Detroit Hustle Podcast. It speaks to that completely. It's just something about us, and you can never count us out.
You can't. You know, I was telling my wife, it's so fascinating, and you would totally appreciate this because you experienced it too. Because we grew up at the same time. You know, I told her, I was like, babe, you know, when we were in high school, we'd go to a party, like a club, right, like Legends or something like that, and like people will be shooting in the club, like people, like there'll be shots rang outside the club or in the club, like that would happen. And she's like, oh my God, what would you do? It's like everybody would drop to the floor, the music would stop, then the music would come back on, and you start dancing again.
Right.
And she's like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? And I was like, yeah, like that was life for us. Like, we didn't think anything of it because that's just how it was growing up in Detroit. You know, it's like we were freshmen at Cass, like people were getting beat up by Murray Wright people. Like, that's just how it was. Like, that's what it was.
It's funny because as volatile and dangerous as that sounds, I don't think I ever thought that my life was in danger.
Never, ever.
Walking downtown
ever.
at night, you know, downtown was not the place to be in the late 90s. But I never felt like something was going to happen to me. You know what I'm saying? I never felt scared.
Ever. So I went to Golightly, which was not far from Cass. It was it was like over by Wayne State, right? So in Midtown area. And Golightly had a partnership with Wayne State. So Wayne State was like a funder. It was like an investor in Golightly. But on half days, we'd walk from Golightly. So this is like St. Antoine and 75. We walked from Golightly to the Detroit Public Library, just us as kids, like seventh graders, sixth graders, like walking through the hood on the way to the Detroit Public Library, and never once thought that my life was in danger. Never once. It's unreal. We'd go play at Roscoe's, to go play the arcade over there. Never once thought that our life was in danger. And I think that's just the sort of kind of, that is the spirit of Detroit. To me, in my mind, just this relentlessness that we're, you know, back down for nobody, and we're just very proud people. Even if no one else understands why we are as proud as we are, we just have this spirit about us. I think it's pretty amazing.
Pretty much. So that's cool. I mean, I ditto all of that. So let's get to the fun part. What I call the Fab Five.
Fun part.
Yes, obviously you know what the Fab Five is referencing. That team of old from your alma mater and your current stomping ground as an academic. And so what it is, I'm going to ask you 5 questions about your favorite Detroit thing. And each question is a particular genre or specific area of things. And so my understanding is that you didn't get a lot of time to prep. So this will be good. I hope I can stump you maybe. If not, that's fine.
Okay.
But at least we could share some Detroit stuff, and only the true Detroiters will really enjoy this part. So.
Okay, word up. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Number one, your favorite Detroit place or landmark?
Favorite Detroit place or landmark? Belle Isle, for sure.
That's a popular answer. Care to share
Oh, yeah,
why
gotta
or
be.
any stories?
I just think about like Belle Isle seemed to be the place when we were in high school that like everything happened. So like if there was a senior swing out, it was at Belle Isle. If people were skipping school, it was at Belle Isle. Like if people were going to like on the weekend, we're going to drive we're going to ride the strip. It was either 7 Mile or Belle Isle.
Right,
and I just feel like that was just like it was something always happening there. So Belle Isle comes to mind for me for
sure. Okay, that was easy. Okay, now this one's a little harder. Number two,
here we go.
A little bit harder. Your favorite restaurant or dish, past or current?
Ooh, favorite restaurant or dish, past or current? This is a hard one. Okay, so I have two. I know it's a cheat, but I have two.
That's fine. That's fine. Most people do.
So the first to me would have to be Mr. Fofo's. His corned beef sandwiches. They were right over by our house, so I used to eat there often. But I think the more recent one, which I'm not even sure if it's still in business, would be Southern Fires. Oh my goodness. Southern Fires
yes,
so
that was
good. The worst service ever. Awful service, but the food was so worth it.
Dang it. Oh
so
my
worth
gosh, yes.
The last place I lived in Detroit was the Lobster Rivertown, and actually it shared the parking lot with Southern Fire, so it's the parking lot away. So on Sundays after church, I would go there and be like, "There's nothing else to do for the day. I'm going to eat and have a food coma. This is it. It was so worth it. So good, so good."
Yeah, because I'm not even that big on soul food usually, but man, that was good. I agree. I definitely agree with that one. Don't know this open.
That was a good question, by the way. That was a good question.
Thank
that was a good
you.
one.
I like that one. That's one of my personal favorites. So number three, your favorite downtown event. So you mean downtown only, like a festival, fireworks, parade, auto show, etc.
Come on, the African American World Festival. The African World Festival. It's got to be it.
Yeah. That's been the one.
Is there anything more live that happens downtown than African American World Festival? The African World Festival ever? We're kids. Are you kidding me? That was the spot. There was a step show that happened down there. There was always a concert. Everyone. That was the spot. That was for sure the it. Absolutely.
And then we keep trying to place it. Wasn't it right before school started back?
It was exactly. It was right at the end of August.
Right.
100%.
Right at the end of the summer.
I feel like it was always the last weekend before like Labor Day or something like that. It was always very close that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Very fond memories of
You got me over here feeling nostalgic right now.
I'm doing my job. That's good.
Oh yeah.
All right. So number 4. Now this one can be a little touchy. Your favorite Detroit sports team.
Oh, this is super easy. Detroit Pistons all day long.
Yeah, all right.
Not even without a question. Right. Yeah, Detroit Pistons all day long. There's no other team in the city that captures the spirit of the city like Detroit Pistons. Detroit Pistons are like a complete parallel to the city. As much as like the Tigers are Detroit Love and the Lions are Detroit Disappointment, and the Red Wings are like Detroit, like kind of like consistent when they are consistent. There's no other team that captures the spirit of Detroit like the Pistons, especially Bad Boy era, but the Pistons in general. Yeah, easy peasy.
Wait, have you had any involvement with the team? I want to say I remember.
Yes,
something. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, they're my client as well.
Kind of connection. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wait a minute. There's something here. Can you tell us a little bit about that, just a smidge?
Yeah, you have as a marketer, which you now are, whether it's by proxy or not. Like there's certain brands that you like love and like you always would want to have worked on, and the Pistons have always been that for me because the Pistons have always been like a badge of identity of being a Detroiter. There was no like people like there's people who love baseball and wear Tigers gear but don't live in Detroit because they love the team or they love the winning aspect of the Red Wings. So the Pistons aren't that kind of team. Like you had to like love Detroit and love the Pistons to rock the Pistons. So when I moved back here, I had a very short list of brands that I wanted to touch as a marketer here, and Detroit Pistons were high on the list. And I got a chance to meet the team, the leadership team on the marketing side while working with Chrysler, who's a client of ours, for an activation we were trying to work on. And I met Charlie Metzger and the Pistons team, and you know, I just fell in love with these people, like Charlie, Mike, Alicia, like Nick, like just lovely people. And when they offered an opportunity for me and my team at Donor to work on the brand, it was really a dream come true. So I feel like whatever I do, I'll always be not just repping the Pistons, but hopefully, inshallah, working with the Pistons. So yeah, they're a client of ours. We launched their summer activation, the D with 3 E's campaign this past summer. Yeah, love them.
I caught that. Awesome. See there? Yeah. That's always a nice little nugget there. Okay. And now we're on the last one.
Here we go.
And it'll be all over. Okay, so number 5, your favorite Detroit memory. And what I mean by that is a memory that you have that is so Detroit, you could not classify it as anything but.
Oh, favorite Detroit memory. So Detroit. Oh, wow, you are really stumping me here. Okay. Favorite Detroit memory. Man, I should have had something to prep for this one. Favorite Detroit memory. Oh, I got it. Doing the hustle on the Boblo boat.
Oh.
Don't get more Detroit than that.
And not to any song but
My Eyes Don't Cry No More.
My Eyes Don't Cry. Right.
Exactly.
That's the only hustle song that exists.
Exactly. That's right. That is probably my most fondest memory, going to Boblo. I mean, goodness gracious, you wake up in the morning and be like, "They want to go to Boblo? Let's go to Boblo." And everyone wears matching outfits. Yeah. You all go to Boblo. It's just amazing. I don't think anything gets more Detroit than that, truthfully. It's great.
That is true. I would have to agree with you there. Now I'm sad because we're done. But thank you so much. This was so much fun. I'm so glad we finally got a chance to connect, and you're going to get to share this with our wider audience. I am just super psyched, and I wish you all the best with what's your degree? You know, your doctor is going to be in? Yeah,
so I'm it's in the world of marketing and consumer culture. So I'm studying the mechanisms of social contagion within the hip hop cultural consumption. So it's how do brands propagate within people who identify with the hip hop cultural identity. It's cool. Gotcha. It's really cool. I'm excited about it.
That is really cool. Cool. So we look forward to hearing more about that, seeing more about you everywhere, and just the best of everything to you and your family. And thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for having me. Thank you. And I will get you connected with Hodge. We'll make that happen for sure.
Oh, please do. Oh, see, there you go. Now he's on the hook. He can't get away now.
Nope.
Well, guys,
it's done.
Thank
it's
you
recorded.
So much.
It's happening.
It's done. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to this installment of the Detroit Hustle Podcast. I'm Melinda B. Powers. Bye.